right, ready to dive in. Today we're taking on J.D. Roth's Your Money, the missing manual. And let me tell you, some of his insights really caught me off guard.
It's not your typical pinch pennies and save kind of advice, is
Not
it?
at all. We're going way deeper here, exploring like the whole psychology of money,
Yeah.
and how it affects everything, like from how we plan for retirement to how we interact with our friends, even our families. Ready to have your mind blown a little.
Oh, absolutely. I think what's so brilliant about Roth's approach is that he doesn't just focus on like the numbers.
Right.
He digs into those often overlooked aspects, like how we're pressured to spend by friends, the emotional baggage that we all carry about money, even, how the way we grew up, how our childhood experiences really shape our financial decisions as adults.
It's so true. I mean, we all know, like, logically, we should be saving for retirement,
Yeah,
right?
right.
But Roth, he really forces you to confront those hidden obstacles, the things that kind of trip us up along the way.
Yeah.
Like, how many of you out there have dreamt about retiring early? I know I definitely did. But then I got to Roth's retirement reality check section, and wow, it was a serious wake-up call.
It's easy to get caught up in the romanticism of early retirement, all that free time. But the truth is, it's a lot more complicated than most people realize. Roth, he highlights like 4 major challenges, and one that really stood out to me was the whole health insurance thing.
Oh, yeah.
You're basically in this weird gap where you're too young for Medicare,
Right.
but you don't have your employer's plan anymore.
Right.
That can be a huge financial burden.
And it's not even just the cost of the insurance itself, right?
Right.
What if you, like, develop a health condition, something that requires expensive ongoing treatment? Suddenly that dream of, backpacking through Europe in your 50s maybe doesn't sound so appealing.
Yeah, it puts a damper on things.
Roth suggests that instead of like aiming for that hard stop, that traditional retirement age, maybe we should be thinking about a more gradual transition, something like semi-retirement.
I think that's a really great idea, especially in today's world, with the gig economy and all that.
Right.
You could gradually reduce your hours at your main job while maybe picking up some freelance work, maybe some consulting gigs. It gives you more time for those passions you've been putting off.
Yeah. It's about like finding that sweet spot, right?
Yeah.
Between work and leisure, between financial security and actually enjoying your life. Speaking of enjoyment, Roth also gets into this fascinating concept. He calls it a money blueprint. Basically, it's this set of beliefs and habits we develop around money, often early in life.
Oh, yeah.
And it can really impact our relationships, especially with our friends.
Oh, I was just thinking about that the other day. A friend suggested we all go on this like really extravagant weekend trip. It sounded amazing, but I knew deep down it would totally blow my budget. But then I started feeling guilty, like I was letting everyone down.
Oh, I've been there. It's like that internal battle between wanting to fit in with the group and sticking to your financial goals, right? So what did you end up doing?
Well, I remembered Roth's advice about, suggesting alternative lower cost options. So instead of that expensive resort weekend, I suggested we all go camping at a nearby national park.
Okay.
And you know what? Everyone loved the idea. We actually had a really great time.
That's awesome. You managed to hang out with your friends, have fun, but without like breaking the bank.
Yeah.
It proves that you really can have both.
You really can.
But I get it. Sometimes it's not that easy, especially when your friends have, drastically different money blueprints.
Totally.
Roth talks about how this can lead to some really awkward situations, like feeling pressured to overspend or even being judged for being frugal.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He gives some really good advice on how to navigate that, like setting a budget just for social events, being upfront with your friends about your financial goals.
Yeah.
Even leaving your credit cards at home so you're not tempted to like make impulse purchases.
Ooh, that's a good one. It's like you're pre-committing to staying within your limits. But you know what? There's this other social situation that Roth tackles head on, one that even Shakespeare warned us about: lending money to friends and family.
Yeah, that age-old dilemma. It's such a tough one because you obviously want to be there for your loved ones.
Right.
But you also need to protect yourself, And honestly, a lot of times those loans, they just end up causing more harm than good.
Yeah, straining the relationship in your wallet. Roth actually has a pretty radical suggestion. He says that if you really care about the person and you can afford it, consider giving the money as a gift instead of a loan.
Interesting.
That way, there's no expectation of repayment, no resentment building up.
I see how that would take the pressure off, but isn't that like enabling bad financial habits.
That's a fair point. And, Roth emphasizes that there's no one-size-fits-all answer here. It really depends on the specific situation.
I guess so.
He encourages you to really think about the potential consequences for your own finances and for the relationship. And if you do decide to lend money, put absolutely everything in writing, like a clear repayment plan, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, protect both sides.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance between generosity and self-preservation. Speaking of close relationships, though, Roth dedicates a whole section to love and money.
Oh boy, can that be a minefield, even for the most, compatible couples. Roth points out that those mismatched money blueprints we were talking about earlier, they can lead to huge conflict, resentment, even divorce.
It's scary stuff.
Yeah.
He suggests that couples have open and honest conversations about their financial values, their goals, and their habits.
Early on, I bet.
Early on, yeah, before things get too serious.
Yeah.
And he's not just talking about who pays for dinner, right?
Right.
He goes deeper, highlighting these 4 key financial questions that every couple should discuss. Okay, I'm intrigued. Lay those questions on me.
So first, he suggests exploring your financial histories, like what did you learn about money growing up?
Okay.
What messages did you receive from your family? It's about understanding those deep-seated beliefs and habits you might be bringing into the relationship without even realizing it.
Oh, that's so smart. I could already see how that would lead to some aha moments. All right, what's the next question?
All right, then there's the topic of credit.
Oh, yeah.
And no, not the romantic kind. He encourages couples to be open about their credit scores, not as a judgment, but more as a way to, assess their overall financial health as a team.
Okay, that makes sense. It's about transparency, being on the same page. What are the other 2 questions?
The third one Roth suggests is control. Who's actually managing the money?
Okay.
Do you have a joint account, separate accounts, or some kind of hybrid system?
Right.
And how much can each person spend before they have to check in with the other person? It can be a really touchy subject.
Oh, for sure.
But you got to find a system that works for both people.
Yep.
One that promotes a sense of fairness and autonomy.
That makes a lot of sense. You don't want to feel like you're being monitored or having to ask permission for every little thing.
Right.
But you also need to have some accountability, right? Like some shared decision making.
Yeah, exactly. And that leads us to that final question. Roth highlights affluence. What are your financial goals as a couple? How much wealth do you want to build together? And, what are you willing to sacrifice to reach those goals? It's about making sure you're both moving in the same direction.
So it's not just about managing the day-to-day expenses. It's about having a shared vision for your financial future.
Exactly.
And that might look different for every couple, right?
Oh, absolutely. Some couples might prioritize early retirement, maybe traveling the world. Others might be laser focused on paying off their mortgage or saving for their kids' college,
Right.
The key is to define what affluence means to you as a couple and then create a plan to achieve those goals together.
I love that it's about teamwork. It's about communication. And Roth actually offers some pretty creative approaches for couples to manage their money.
Yeah.
It's not just about the traditional joint account.
Right. He talks about the CFO system where, one person kind of takes the lead on managing the finances.
Okay.
But with regular input from their partner, so it's not like a dictatorship.
Right, right.
This can work well for couples where one person is more financially savvy
Right.
or just enjoys handling the money stuff,
Oh, for sure. And then there's the adult allowance system, which I find so interesting.
Oh, yeah.
That's where each person contributes their whole income to a joint account and then gets a set allowance back for personal spending. It's almost like a role reversal from childhood,
Yeah.
But it can actually be pretty liberating.
It really can. It's about creating financial freedom, but within a structured system. And for some couples, it promotes a sense of equality. You avoid those arguments about who's spending more on what.
But wouldn't that be tough for couples with significantly different incomes? Say one person makes a lot more money than the other. Wouldn't the lower earner feel a bit restricted?
Yeah, that's a good point. And it highlights the importance of, those open conversations we were talking about earlier.
Right.
You might need to adjust the allowance amounts or maybe even find a hybrid system that feels fair to everyone involved.
Yeah, finding what works. And, whether you're single, partnered, whatever, chances are kids and money are on your mind.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where things can get really fast.
Absolutely. The USDA, they estimate that a middle-income family will spend over $200,000 to raise a kid to 18. And that's not even including college.
When I saw that number, I was like, whoa. It's mind-boggling.
It's a lot. It's no wonder so many parents feel overwhelmed, just by the financial pressures of having a family. It's a massive investment. That's why Roth really stresses the importance of planning ahead and talking about money with your partner. Like, can you afford to have one parent stay home? Or are daycare costs gonna, eat up a huge chunk of your income? These are the tough questions, but they're so important.
And it's not just about the immediate costs, right?
Right.
Roth also talks about raising, like, money-smart kids.
Hmm.
Setting them up for success.
Yeah.
He encourages parents to involve their kids in financial decisions, to talk about budgets openly, even give them an allowance that teaches them about saving, spending, and giving.
Oh, that reminds me of Roth's allowance jar system. Have you heard of this? I
Yeah.
think it's so brilliant, so simple, but so effective.
Yeah.
You have 3 jars, one labeled save, one labeled share, and one labeled spend.
Right.
And each week, they get their allowance and they decide how much to put in each jar.
I love that. The save jar is for, like, long-term goals, maybe a new bike or, a video game.
Yeah.
Share is to encourage, like, generosity.
Right.
To teach them about giving back to the community.
Right.
And then the spend jar, that's, like, the guilt-free fun money.
Exactly. It teaches them that money isn't just for getting stuff. It's for helping others and, enjoying life.
And hopefully avoiding those money mistakes that we might have made growing up.
Exactly.
Speaking of mistakes, Roth offers some really level-headed advice on dealing with those exciting but potentially dangerous windfalls.
Oh, yeah.
Like a big tax refund, an inheritance,
Right.
maybe even winning the lottery, right?
Right.
It's so easy to get caught up in the excitement and make some impulsive decisions.
Oh, absolutely. It's like your brain goes haywire and you're suddenly picturing lavish vacations, a new car.
Yeah.
But Roth, he urges you to, hit the pause button to approach the situation with a more disciplined mindset.
So what does he recommend?
He suggests a simple but effective strategy, the 5% rule. Basically, you allow yourself to indulge a little, maybe 5% of the windfall,
Okay.
on something fun, something frivolous.
Okay.
But the rest, you use it to pay down debt, you boost your savings, you invest in your future.
So smart. Finding that balance between enjoying the present and, securing your financial well-being for the long term.
Exactly. And for those really big windfalls, like a significant inheritance, he even recommends talking to a financial advisor.
Yeah.
Someone who can help you create a solid plan and avoid making costly mistakes.
That's such a good idea, especially if you're not, used to managing large sums of money. It's like having a guide, right?
Exactly.
To help you navigate those unfamiliar waters. But even beyond those big financial events, Roth emphasizes the importance of, like, incorporating giving into your everyday life.
Yeah, he talks about the yoga of money,
Uh-huh.
which sounds a little out there at first, but it's really about using money as a tool to connect with something larger than yourself.
I like that.
It's about aligning your spending with your values, finding ways to make a positive impact, even if it's just in small ways.
It's about recognizing that true wealth is about more than just the numbers in your bank account. It's about living a rich life, a life filled with purpose and generosity and connection.
And you don't have to be a millionaire to practice the yoga of money. It can be as simple as donating to your favorite charity or volunteering your time at a local soup kitchen.
Right. Or even just helping a neighbor with their groceries.
Exactly. Those small acts of kindness, they have this ripple effect. It's not just about the person you're helping. It's
Yeah.
about how it makes you feel. It creates the sense of community. And sometimes those connections can lead to unexpected opportunities, both personally and professionally.
It's like that saying, what goes around comes around.
Exactly. But it's not about expecting something in return.
Right.
It's about recognizing that generosity is its own reward.
And speaking of rewards, Roth also dives into the world of investing. He's a huge fan of Roth IRAs.
Yes, for good reason.
I used to think those were just for, like, super rich people or financial experts, but Roth breaks it down in a way that I can actually understand.
Yeah, he does a really good job of demystifying all that complicated financial stuff.
Yeah.
He explains it in plain English.
So explain it to me like I'm 5. What exactly is a Roth IRA? And why is it so great?
Okay, imagine like a special savings account where you put money in that's already been taxed.
All right.
So you've paid your dues on it up front. Then that money, it grows tax-free. And when you retire and you start taking it out, guess what? You don't have to pay taxes on those earnings.
Wait, really? That sounds amazing. So it's like a gift to your future self.
Exactly. And another great thing is that they offer flexibility. You can withdraw your contributions at any time without penalty, although, it's generally recommended to leave it in there to grow for retirement.
So even if I'm not thinking about retirement right this second, it's still a good idea to start contributing to a Roth IRA.
Oh, absolutely. The sooner the better. The earlier you start, the more time your money has to compound and grow.
Right.
Even small contributions, if you make them consistently, they can really add up.
That's good to know. Plus, Roth gives really clear instructions on how to open a Roth IRA account. It's surprisingly easy. I was expecting it to be like a huge hassle.
Right, a bureaucratic nightmare.
But you can do it all online in like minutes.
It's really easy, and there are tons of reputable places offering them, so you can, shop around and find the best fit for you.
Okay, so I know Roth loves Roth IRAs, but he also mentions this other type of retirement account, the traditional IRA. What's the difference between the two?
That's a great question. So with a traditional IRA, you're putting in pre-tax money. So you get a tax deduction right now,
Yeah.
but you'll pay taxes on those earnings when you withdraw them in retirement.
So it's like choosing between a tax break now or a tax break later.
Exactly. And which one's better for you really depends on your situation, like whether you think you'll be in a higher or lower tax bracket in retirement.
Okay.
If you think you'll be in a lower tax bracket in retirement, then a Roth IRA might be better because you're paying those taxes now while your income's lower. But if you think you'll be in a higher tax bracket later, then a traditional IRA might make more sense because you're putting off those taxes until your income's lower.
I see.
It can get a little tricky. Roth offers some guidance in the book, but it's always a good idea to talk to a financial advisor if you're not sure.
Right. Find an expert.
Yeah.
It's about finding the strategy that aligns with your long-term financial goals.
Exactly.
And your tax situation. Now, beyond retirement accounts, Roth also talks about this concept that's been gaining a lot of popularity, extreme retirement saving.
Oh, yeah.
Is that just for, like, those fire folks? The financial independence,
Yeah.
retire early crowd?
It's definitely popular with them, but it's not just limited to that group. Extreme retirement saving is for anyone who is serious about achieving financial freedom. Maybe they want to retire early, or maybe they just want to maximize their savings.
Okay.
It requires a lot of dedication, though, often involves some pretty significant lifestyle changes.
So we're talking about things like living below your means, aggressively paying down debt, saving a top priority.
Exactly. It's about making conscious choices to free up more of your income so you can save and invest more.
Right. So it might mean driving an older car, living in a smaller house, cooking at home more, maybe finding cheaper ways to have fun.
It's not for everyone, for sure. It takes a certain mindset.
Yeah.
But for people who commit to it, it can be really empowering. It's about taking control of your finances, designing a life that aligns with your values.
So you're not tied to a 9-to-5 job just to, maintain a certain lifestyle.
Yeah.
But let's be real, not everyone's starting from the same place financially.
Right.
Some people are struggling with debt, others are living paycheck to paycheck. Extreme saving, it might just feel impossible.
That's true. And Roth acknowledges that everyone's financial journey is different. He emphasizes that it's a marathon, not a sprint. It's about taking small steps, building good habits,
Right.
and celebrating those small wins along the way.
So even if I can't save a ton of money right now, there are still things I can do to, improve my financial well-being.
Absolutely. Start with the basics. Make a budget, even if it's just a simple one.
Yeah.
Track your spending, see where you can cut back, and maybe try automating your savings so you're putting money aside consistently.
Good advice.
And don't forget about building an emergency fund to protect yourself from those unexpected expenses.
Right, because those always seem to pop up at the worst time.
Exactly. These are all important foundational steps that can make a big difference over time.
It's about creating a sense of control, and security around your finances no matter how much money you make.
And as you start making progress, you'll find that it creates this positive feedback loop.
Okay.
You'll feel more confident, more motivated to keep going, and that can lead to even greater financial success.
I like it. It's like a snowball effect, but in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of positive momentum, Roth also talks about the power of giving. And it's not just about donating to charity, although that's great too.
Right. It's about more than that. He talks about incorporating generosity into your everyday life, like helping a neighbor with their groceries, volunteering your time, just offering a listening ear to a friend who's going through a tough time.
Those are all good things.
Those acts of kindness They not only benefit others, but they also make you feel better. They create a sense of community.
Yeah.
And sometimes those connections, they can lead to unexpected opportunities, you know?
It's like what goes around comes around, but it's
Or
not about expecting something back.
exactly. It's about realizing that generosity is its own reward.
I like that. And speaking of fulfillment, Roth also talks about passion, finding what truly lights you up, incorporating that into your life, whether it's through your work, your hobbies, or your relationships.
Yeah, it's so important because when you're passionate about something, you're more engaged, you have more energy.
And you're probably more successful too.
Exactly. And that success can translate to financial well-being. Think about it. When you're doing work that you love, you're more likely to excel, right? Which can lead to promotions, raises, maybe even the opportunity to start your own business.
That's true.
And when you're spending your free time doing stuff that you enjoy, you're less likely to waste money on things that don't matter.
It's about aligning your spending with your values,
Mm-hmm.
creating a life that feels good and is financially secure.
Exactly. And that's the ultimate goal, right? Now, I know we've covered a ton of ground today, from retirement planning and frugal living to, the power of giving and pursuing your passions. It can feel like a lot to take in.
Absolutely. But remember, it's a journey, not a race. Start by picking one small step that speaks to you. Maybe it's making a budget, setting up a Roth IRA, or even just writing down your financial goals. And hey, we're here to help you along the way. Check out the show notes for all the resources we talked about, like that USDA child cost calculator that blew my mind.
And speaking of support, Roth also talks about accountability partners, people who can, encourage you, cheer you on, maybe even give you a little nudge when you're slipping into bad habits.
It could be a friend, a family member, a financial advisor,
Yeah.
anyone you trust who also wants to improve their financial well-being.
Exactly.
Because let's face it, sticking to those financial goals can be tough. Life throws a lot of curveballs. Having that support system can really make a difference.
And speaking of curveballs, Roth also gives great advice on dealing with financial setbacks. Because we all make mistakes, right? We overspend, we forget to pay bills, we buy things we don't need.
We've all been there.
But he emphasizes that it's important to be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Instead, look at those mistakes as learning opportunities.
Like, what can you learn from this experience? How can you do things differently next time?
Exactly. And remember, you're not alone in this. We've all been there. And sometimes those setbacks can actually lead to breakthroughs. Roth shares a story about how a financial crisis in his own life forced him to rethink his priorities.
Right.
And it ultimately led him to a more fulfilling, more financially secure path. It's a reminder that even in the middle of challenges, there's always a chance to grow.
And speaking of growth, Roth also touches on something that's often overlooked in financial planning. Investing in yourself. It can mean taking courses to learn new skills, going to workshops, or just spending time doing things that nourish your mind and body.
It's about realizing that you are your most valuable asset.
And that investment in yourself, it will pay off for years to come. Now, before we wrap up, I want to go back to something Roth talks about a lot in the book, the idea of balance.
It's so important.
It's about finding that sweet spot between saving and spending, between enjoying today and planning for tomorrow. It's about using money as a tool, not letting it control you. Aligning your financial choices with your values, creating a life that feels both abundant and meaningful.
That's the essence of financial well-being.
Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive into J.D. Roth's Your Money, the Missing Manual, I want to bring it all back to, what does this mean for you listening right now?
Yeah, it's a lot to absorb, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. We covered everything from planning for retirement and those tough conversations about money to the importance of giving back and finding what you're truly passionate about.
I hope you're feeling more empowered, though, not overwhelmed.
Yeah, I think that's the key takeaway here, right? It's not about feeling intimidated by finances. It's realizing you actually have the power to make choices that align with your values and create a life that feels, rich, both financially and personally.
One thing Roth really drives home is that your definition of enough might be totally different from someone else's.
Yeah, and that's totally fine.
It really is.
Maybe it's retiring early and traveling the world, or maybe it's working a job you love, even if it doesn't make you a millionaire.
Maybe it's just having that financial security to chase your passions and spend time with people you care about,
Exactly. The point is, it's your definition that matters.
Yeah.
So I got a question for you listening. What does enough look like to you? What are those like core values that you want to guide your financial decisions?
Once you have that figured out, it makes those choices a lot easier.
So true. And remember, it's not like a race, it's a marathon. There will be bumps in the road. Maybe you overspend 1 month or an unexpected expense pops up.
Oh, yeah, life happens.
Roth says it's important to be kind to yourself,
Absolutely. Self-compassion is key.
Don't beat yourself up over those setbacks. Instead, think of them as learning experiences. Like, okay, what can I learn from this? How could I do things differently next time?
And remember, we all mess up sometimes. You're definitely not alone in this.
Sometimes those setbacks can lead to unexpected breakthroughs, too. Roth talks about how a financial crisis in his own life actually made him reevaluate his priorities,
Interesting.
and it ultimately led him to a more fulfilling and financially secure path. It's a good reminder that even challenges can be opportunities for growth.
For sure.
And speaking of growth, Roth touches on something that's often overlooked in financial planning, and that's investing in yourself.
Yeah, that's huge.
That could mean taking classes to learn new skills, going to workshops, or just spending time on activities that nourish your mind and body.
It's recognizing that you are your greatest asset.
And that investment, it pays off in so many ways.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a little challenge. What's one concrete step you can take this week to move you closer to your version of enough?
Maybe it's finally creating that budget, opening a Roth IRA, or having that money conversation you've been putting off with your partner.
Just pick one thing and do it. Remember, even small steps lead to big progress over time.
And don't forget to check out the show notes for all the resources we talked about, like that USDA child cost calculator and the stay-at-home calculator Roth mentions.
We're here to support you on your journey to financial well-being, and we can't wait to dive into a whole new topic with you next time.
Until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep living a life that feels truly rich.
Happy deep diving, everyone.